Hi everyone, we're back. Okay, so I have turned her over. It's just a little bit easier to do that off camera because I got to flip my board as well. Right, let me just grab my sponge again. I'm going to go back in and just swipe over all the areas that you're going to be adding your silicone to. Make sure we're nice and clean. This is with my 99% alcohol again. Just checking to make sure how well we've actually adhered down. We had a really good turn as well when we turned her over, so I think that we're going to be brilliant. Right, okay, so hopefully you can see here we've got this little bit of a bump, which I do want to get rid of. So this was where we popped the silicone in between and it's just slipped through a little bit. So I'm going to trim that down so we've got a flat surface again. Now with this particular sculpt of mine, we don't have any neck rolls on this one. So it's just smooth. Now if you do have a baby with neck rolls, it's just as easy. You would just line up one roll to the other and then fill in on, I mean, I guess it would look similar to this, fill in on this line, and it helps blend your little seam in. I've moved my heat gun over to the other side, see if I can minimise the camera shaking, so we'll see how that one goes. I'm going to go back in and just clean this up a little bit again. Make sure we're good to go. And I'm going to be doing the neck, and I'm going to be doing this little bit of seam line as well. I might go in behind these ears also. Okay, now I'm just waiting for this to evaporate a little bit. I don't want any of that still left on your sculpt. Using my tweezers just to get any little extra bits off there. Okay, right. So going in with the same mixture again, I'm checking to see what's going on with these two. Right, so I have two mixed up, one that's slightly thinner and the other one slightly thicker. So this is nice and cool. So we have a little bit of a gap just here. So I'm going to open that up and squish that in just so I know that's going to go back down. Now this is still workable, but I wouldn't put something on that was this thick if my sculpt was warm in any way, because it would just set too quickly. Actually going to get a fresh, should have done this before I started really. There we go, get a fresh fan brush out. Dip this in my thinner. Make sure I'm wiping my brush off in between swipes. Have little bits of tissue just anywhere I think my arms are going to go. Sometimes on this side, depends what angle I'm brushing round at. I'll blend this in just a little bit. Can be a little trickier on the back because you've got to get some good angles. Okay, so I'm going to heat this just a little bit. cure pretty quickly because it was already quite cured. Now what I usually do is I get a little bit of my tissue and I'll pop it underneath the face of my sculpt. Now this is because when I am putting on my odourless thinner, if you put a lot of thinner on and it bleeds down, it can pool on the face. Now what will happen is your silicone will soak the thinner up and you can get a line. Now generally that does evaporate off, it can take a couple of days, but you want to just protect your sculpt as much as possible so it will soak into the tissue instead of soaking into your baby. The other thing to mention is with the thinner that I'm using right now, I'm using the Bob Ross thinner. I always wear a mask with this because it's not good for your lungs. It always upsets my asthma. I'm not today because obviously I'm videoing. I do prefer the Sam odourless thinner. It's much gentler. I would still wear a mask, but it's a much kinder, nicer one, but it's an American product and they don't always have it in stock here. So I would definitely pop your mask on just to be safe. Let's see how we're doing here. Right, I am going to leave that and I'm going to move on to, see how thick this is. There we go. Move on to this tiny bit of seam line that we've got going on. So I'm just using my spatula, tiny little bit in there, and I'm going to come over this shoulder slightly now as well. And then I'm just going to really gently just blend this in, and I might have to do this a few times just to make sure all those little dips are smooth. Okay, I'm happy with that, and I'm going to come in and just heat gun again. That should be good. Come back over and do just the top of the head. I'm not usually the biggest Disney fan, guys. You can see I'm wearing my Little Mermaid t-shirt. I love wearing these for work because they've got this, it's like a plasticky like print design on it, which I find is fantastic because no lint and nothing can stick to it. Whereas if you wear cotton t-shirts, doesn't matter if it's white or black or anything, you do get little bits of lint on there. So I like to wear these. I buy the same one. I've got about 3 of these all in the same size. And it just really helps with not getting any bits of lint on your work. I've got one that I use for pouring. That one gets absolutely filthy. And then some jogger bottoms. I used to wear leggings, but they can get really fluffy as well. So I wear like little grey joggers instead, and it minimises the fluff. I know it sounds a little bit ridiculous, but it really helps me, so it might be a good thing to mention. There we go. Okay, so heating this up again. Grab a couple more little brushes. Okay, now I don't think you'll be able to see from behind here. No, so I'm unfortunately gonna have to do this out of camera shot because I need to be able to see what I'm doing. Let's grab this. Now this does just help with the ear floppiness, so it just needs, generally just with this sculpt, I do one little swoop behind each ear if I feel it needs it. I'm gonna have a little bit here. And then going with my heat gun again. This is still quite warm because obviously I've gone over this area and it's caught the heat from when I was heating the ears and the head up. So I'm going to come through and just try and cool that down a little bit with my alcohol. Make sure everything else is set up because I am going to be swiping over with my brush. So if this isn't set properly and you swipe over with your thinner and your fan brush, it can upset the layer that you've already done. So we need to make sure that, you know, it's all dry enough to give it a little bit of time. Got a super squeaky chair today. I usually can't notice my chair squeaking because I do actually, I put my TV on in the background, don't watch it obviously, but I can listen to it. It's usually The Big Bang Theory or something like that, so I don't hear it, but it's really like squeak squeak. Make sure I'm putting fresh tissue down all the time where I'm wiping my brush off. I'm going to spin her around. I'm not sure you can see that. I'll try and keep it in camera shot. But if you're not getting a very good, you don't feel like you're in the right position, just spin around. Or him, whoever you're working on, and you can get in different parts from different angles. Oh, I got a little bit of fluff in there, a little bit of black fluff. Don't know where that's come from. There we go. Right, I'm back round this way to do this side. I'm going to blend down this shoulder blade. Now at this point I'm going to change my thinner as well because that's really cloudy and you don't want to, can't really see that, here we go, there we go. You see that's quite cloudy, so I don't want to work with that now. So I'm going to throw that, just get a new batch out because you don't want that to be contaminated. You don't want to do all this hard work and then have a problem with your silicone. Don't forget to change your gloves if you need to. Always wear gloves. Always test your gloves before you use them as well. I buy the same ones from the same place all the time, but every time I get a new batch, same with my sponges, I will test those to make sure the silicone's sticking. And make sure you change your gloves frequently, just to make sure that they're clean and there's nothing going on that's going to stick to your baby, or you know, if you've touched your face too much, or you know, they've gone on anything. If there's anything, your gloves there to protect, so obviously if there's anything in your gloves, you don't want it to be on your baby, so you can then cause your silicone not to cure properly. Okay, so that's going to be quite warm again. I'll do in the back sometimes slightly slower because I've already fixed everything that I need to fix as a rule. So I do have to wait for this to cool down. So sometimes I just mix smaller amounts so it doesn't set up too quickly. I'm going to get some fresh thinner as well. Too much. Okay, I'm going to come back in and do just a little bit more here. Blend that in as much as possible. Over this headspace again, and I'm just smoothing this down flat with my spatula so it's nice and smooth before I've even come in to smooth it more with my brush. You can see there's my thinner's dripping down to the front, so it's a really good idea if you're working like this to pop your tissue onto your baby's face. There's a fine line between your brush being too dry and too wet. You want to get any of these little drippy bits up as well, so just make sure it's not, you haven't got any silicone dripping down. in and use my heat gun again. I think we're nearly done, really. Just going over the last few little bits to smooth those out. Now this is still quite warm, so I have to work really fast. I wouldn't suggest working on a warm sculpt if you're starting out. Definitely wait for it to cool down, because you will have all kinds of problems if you can't work fast enough, or know when your product's setting up, your silicone's setting up a little bit, and then know when to stop so don't swipe over one too many times. Okay, right, so I have a little drip here, which I'm just going to grab that up. There we go. I don't want that dripping down the front. And setting up, there we go. Okay, so now I just moving this around just to see if there's any other little bits that I need to get to. I think we're good. Nice and smooth. Okay, great, so I'm happy with that. Hoping you can see okay. So we've got the seam line on the spine and the head, that's all fixed. The neck's securely on. Now I will leave this for a good 24 hours until I start to mess about with her and paint her or anything like that, just purely because I want everything I've done on this neck to be as sturdy, as set and solid as it possibly can do before I start painting, because obviously I'm going to be putting a lot of pressure turning her around and everything. So I will turn her once more because I don't like her laying on her face. I'm going to leave her for a couple of hours, come back, turn her around, and then I'll be able to start painting. I don't even know what the time is. It's like lunchtime Monday, so I'll probably start painting Tuesday afternoon on this little one. Actually, I do have I have others to fix. I usually do all of my fixing all together. So with this one, I'm not going to start painting her until next week. So we've got a full week until we start painting that one, which is absolutely fantastic because you want them to sit and make sure it's a bit like rooting. You don't want to finish painting and sealing and matting your baby and then start rooting your baby straight away. You want the silicone to sit a while and make sure that it's cured and as happy as it possibly can be. I will pop back and tap onto the end of this video another little spin round of her so you can see a little bit better of her neck in a different light. But I hope that was helpful.